Raja Yoga by Swami Vivekananda. So, whenever we hear a man say, I am inspired, and then talk the most irrational nonsense, simply reject it. Why? Because these three states of the mind, instinct, reason, and superconsciousness, or the unconscious, conscious, and superconscious states, belong to one and the same mind. There are not three minds in one man, but one develops into the other. Instinct develops into reason, and reason into the transcendental consciousness. Therefore, one never contradicts the other. So, whenever you meet with wild statements which contradict human reason and common sense, reject them without any fear, because real inspiration will never contradict but will fulfill. Just as you find the great prophet saying, I come not to destroy but to fulfill. So, this inspiration always comes to fulfill reason and is in direct harmony with reason. And whenever it contradicts reason, you must know that it is not inspiration. All the different steps in yoga are intended to bring us scientifically to the superconscious state or samadhi. Furthermore, this is the most vital point to understand that inspiration is as much in every man's nature as it were in the ancient prophets. These prophets were not unique, they were just the same as you or I. They were great yogis. They had gained this super consciousness, and you and I can get the same. They were not peculiar people. The very fact that one man ever reached that state will prove that it is possible for every man to do so. Not only is it possible, but every man must eventually get to that state, and that is religion. Experience is the only teacher we have. We may talk and reason our lives without ever understanding a word of truth until we experience it ourselves. You cannot hope to make a man a surgeon by simply giving him a few books. You cannot satisfy my curiosity to see a country by showing me a map. I must have actual experience. Maps can only create a little curiosity in us to get more perfect knowledge. Beyond that, they have no value whatever. All clinging to books only degenerates the human mind. Was there ever a more horrible blasphemy than to say that all the knowledge of God is confined in this or that book? How dare men call God infinite, and yet try to compress him into the covers of a little book? Millions of people have been killed because they did not believe what the books say, because they would not see all the knowledge of God within the covers of a book. Of course, this killing and murdering has gone by, but the world is still tremendously bound up by a belief in books. In order to reach the superconscious state in a scientific manner, we have to pass through these various steps that I have been teaching you in Raja Yoga. After Pratyahara and Dharana, which I taught you in the last lecture, we come to Dhyana meditation. When the mind has been trained to remain fixed on a certain internal or external location, there comes to it the power of, as it were, flowing in an unbroken current towards that point. This state is called dhyana. When this power of dhyana has been so much intensified as to be able to reject the external part of perception and remain meditating only on the internal part, the meaning of that state is called samadhi. The three, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi together are called samayama. That is, if the mind can first concentrate upon an object and then is able to continue in that concentration for a length of time, and then by continued concentration to dwell only on the internal part of the perception of which the object was the effect, everything comes under the control of such a mind. This meditative state is the highest state of existence. So long as there is desire, no real happiness can come. It is only the contemplative, witness like study of objects that brings us to real enjoyment and happiness. The animal has its happiness in the senses, the man in his intellect, and the God in spiritual contemplation. It is only to the soul that has attained to this contemplative state that the world has really become beautiful. To whom who desires nothing and does not mix himself up with them, the manifold changes of nature are one panorama of beauty and sublimity. These ideas have to be understood in dhyana or meditation. We hear a sound. First, there is the external vibration. Second, the nerve motion that carries it to the mind. Third, the mind from the reaction from the mind, along with which flashes the knowledge of the object, which was the external cause of these different changes. From the ethereal vibrations to the mental reaction. These three are called in yoga sabda, sound, artha, meaning, and janana or jnana, knowledge. In the language of physiology, they are called the ethereal vibration, the motion in the nerve and brain, and the mental reaction. Now, these though distinct processes have become mixed up in such a fashion as to become quite indistinct. In fact, we cannot now perceive any of these causes, we only perceive the effect of these three, which effect we call the external object. Every act of perception includes these three, and there is no reason why we should not be able to distinguish between them. When, by the previous preparations, the mind becomes strong and controlled, and the power of finer perception has been attained, then the mind should be employed in meditation. This meditation must begin with gross objects and slowly rise to finer, then to finer and finer until it has become objectless. The mind should first be employed in perceiving the external causes of sensations, then the internal emotions, and then the reaction of the mind. When it has succeeded in perceiving the external causes of sensations by mixing themselves, it will acquire the power of perceiving all fine material existence, all fine bodies and forms. When it can succeed in perceiving the motions inside with themselves, it will gain the control of all mental beings, in itself or in others, even before they have translated themselves into physical forces. And when he will be able to perceive the mental reaction by itself, the yogi will acquire the knowledge of everything, as every sensible object and every thought is the result of this reaction. Then will he have seen, as it were, the very foundations of his mind, and it will be under his perfect control. Different powers will come to the yogi, and if he yields to the temptations of any of these, the road to his further progress will be power. Such is the evil of running after enjoyments. But if he is strong enough to reject even these miraculous powers, he will attain to the goal of yoga, the complete separation of the waves in the ocean of the mind, then the glory of the soul, untrammeled by the distractions of the mind or the motions of his body, will shine in its full effulgence, and the yogi will find himself and he is, and as he always was, the essence of knowledge, the immortal, the all-pervading. Samadhi is the property of every human being, nay, every animal, from the lowest animal to the highest angelic being. Some time or other, each one will have to come to that state. And then alone will religion begin for him. And all this time, what are we doing? We are only struggling towards that stage. There is no difference between us and those who have no religion, because we have had no experience. What is concentration good for? Safe to bring us to this experience? Each of the steps to attain the samadhi has been reasoned out, properly adjusted, scientifically organized, and when fully practiced will surely lead us to the desired end. Then will all sorrows cease, all miseries, the seeds of action will be burned, and the souls will be free forever.